Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, and welcome to another edition of PT on Ice. I'm Jason London, and I'm on faculty with the Institute for Clinical Excellence and teach the rehabilitation of the injured runner as well as rehabilitation of the injured cyclist. And today I want to highlight a recent article that's exciting, focusing on gait retraining as injury prevention for running injuries. And where this really comes into play is, we know, and I've talked a lot about the high prevalence of running injuries being, 75% per year for the average runner and 90% lifetime incidence for most runners. So that's a really high injury rate. And then I've also talked about gait retraining as a way to address faulty mechanics for injured runners. But we really haven't seen anything published yet on gait retraining for preventing injury. Now, theoretically, of course, it makes sense that if you have some runners that aren't currently injured and you look at their gait mechanics and you see some pathomechanics that would indicate that they might be set up for injury, where their knee might be coming into valgus, they might be overstriding, have a Trendelenburg sign, and if you correct those, they'd be less likely to be injured, but there just haven't been any prospective studies done as of yet. So what's exciting is, sorry, low connection here. What's exciting is that in the American Journal of Sports Medicine, a study was published this past February by Chen et al. that looked at just that. And what they really looked at was trying to decrease loading rates for novice runners. And so the loading rate, of course, is really the peak ground reaction force and the rate that load is being applied to the runner. And as you would guess, if that loading rate is higher and the peak ground reaction force is higher, the stress on the tissues is going to be larger and likely to be more likely to injure someone. And that's been shown in multiple running-related injuries, from patellofemoral pain syndrome, stress fractures, as you would expect, and plantar heel pain. And so what they did is they basically took the study protocol from an earlier study that was published in 2010 out of Irene Davis's lab by Crowell et al. In JOSPT, where they had an instrumented treadmill and had runners running on the instrumented treadmill and getting real-time biofeedback on their tibial acceleration rates, or basically a measure of their loading rate, and had a line that the runners were supposed to get their rates under, and then gradually took away the feedback and then retested the runners at the end of the trial to see if they were able to one, decrease their loading rate, and two, maintain that, which they were. And so this group, Chen et al., did this same study, but with now 320 novice runners that weren't currently injured, but they were training for a 5K, and then they followed them over the course of a year and recorded injury rates. And so half of the group, so approximately 160 runners, ran on the instrumented treadmill, got the real-time biofeedback, trying to lower their loading rates, and then gradually that stimulus was taken away. And they did this over 8 sessions over 2 weeks. And then the other group just ran on the instrumented treadmill. And what they found is, as you would expect, the group with getting the biofeedback was able to reduce their loading rates, where the group not getting the biofeedback really didn't. But the really exciting thing about this study, or the exciting findings, is that after a year, the group that got the gait retraining had a 60% lower injury rate than the control group. So that's a huge injury reduction, and so that speaks a lot to what we can do in helping to decrease running-related injuries with using physical therapy, and specifically gait retraining. Now, most of us don't have an instrumented treadmill in our clinic. That's more of a research setting. So how do we go about doing this with looking at loading rates or ground reaction forces specifically. Well, uh, Tate et al. Published a study in JOSPT in 2017, again trying to decrease loading rates by looking mainly at the sound of how heavy a runner was hitting the treadmill. And they used a decibel app, which you can find many of those in the App Store. And basically, the runner had the feedback for 15 minutes, trying to decrease the amount of noise that they were making while they were running, and then gradually that was decreased. And they found that runners were able, with this decibel app, to get greater than a 20% reduction in peak ground reaction force and vertical loading rate. So that'd be one method to do in the clinic. Another method is simply just telling runners to run more quietly. Fan et al. In the Journal of Sports Science published a study in 2017, basically having a group of uninjured runners running barefoot on a treadmill, and then telling them the only cue they were given was, okay, now run again, but now try to run more quietly. And those runners too were able to decrease their vertical ground reaction force, peak vertical ground reaction force, as well as their vertical loading rates. So those will be two tools that you should be able to use in the clinic quite easily, with your runners that maybe are already injured, but also with getting out into the community and trying to do some injury prevention, and either having a clinic at a running injury clinic within your clinic, where you're getting people to come in and doing some gait analysis with them and working on that with them, or just educating them about trying to run more quietly. We at the clinic I work at, Excel Physical Therapy in Bozeman, we have a runner's injury clinic that we do every year. We do a presentation to the community for free and have 60 to 100 people every year. And then we, thanks to the work of Megan Peach, one of my colleagues, have started what we call a run camp, where we have a limited number of spots, but then go in deeper and do some more hands-on stuff with education, with running mechanics and proper training schedules, etc. And have a small fee for that, which we donate to charity. And it's a great success at our clinic, and I think it'd be a great way for you to, if you're looking to increase your visibility within the running community locally, would be a great way for you to do that too, and hopefully keep some runners out of your clinic and keep them healthy. Well, that's all I got today. Everyone have a great weekend. Thanks for your time.